Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 favorite decks. They're not necessarily going to be the strongest of my decks, but they are going to be my favorites because they're ones that, you know, I've put a lot of love into, or I really, really love playing. Ones that my friends kind of dread when I bring them out, but, you know, in a fun way. And ones that I've just put, you know, a lot of love in. They're the ones that if someone said, oh, bring along your favorite deck, I would be bringing along it. Some of them I haven't played in a little bit, mostly because I just kind of started going to my local game store, and I'm not sure entirely if they'd be too strong or anything. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of a feel out there and trying to see how they go and everything. But, as you guys can see, I have a lot. I have a lot of different decks, which, you know, my wallet kind of doesn't like, but overall I enjoy kind of brewing things. Now, over on my Discord, I do have links to all of these, or most of them. I don't think I've put the latest ones on there in the Tauna's deck area. So if you guys want to check out my decks, they'll be over there. But otherwise, I'll put the links to these 5 plus the extra one down in the comment/description, so that way you're able to get to them. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about, I don't know, they're not like ranked 1 to 5 or anything like that. I don't have an absolute favorite deck because each of them I enjoy in their own right. But we'll start with my Miirym one. So this one here is kind of special to me because of the fact that it was like the first kind of deck that I mostly kind of built from scratch. I did use the Dragons red-green precon, like the starter commander deck, I think it was. I got that to get a whole bunch of kind of stapley kind of stuff. But overall, kind of, I built this one mostly from scratch myself, and then it's gone through a lot of upgrades, right? It's sitting at like $337 worth in US. So, most of that's from pulls and stuff though, but I kind of go through very quickly as to what they are. So the way Miirym works is when a non-token dragon enters the battlefield, create a token for it. So most of this deck is kind of a lot of ramp stuff. We've got Pyre of Heroes here, which is allowing me to be able to sack one of the creatures to search up something that's mana value it +1. So it's like a tutor for that, but we can sack our tokens with it, like our token copies with it. The creatures are a lot of ramp stuff, but like roaming throne to kind of double stuff, and then a lot of dragons, right? A lot of big, nasty dragons. My best friend John Jackson pulled this ancient bronze dragon for me, and that's in there. I opened like one bundle of what is it? Adventures of the Forgotten Realms or whatever, and got this old Gnawbone, so that went straight in there. And Terror of the Peaks is here somewhere. That's like the most expensive single that I've kind of bought for it. But overall, you know, lots of kind of creating dragons, but then a lot of kind of copying stuff to make copies of the dragons and stuff as well. The enchantments are all about ramp and haste and more ramp and drawing cards and copying the creatures and making more tokens every time that Miirym comes in, or, you know, creatures come in while Miirym's there. And then we've got a lot of kind of under the instance, a lot of copying creatures and copying spells from there too, as well as Ghostly Flicker. My favorite one in here is probably the Divergent transformations. It is exile 2 target creatures. For each of them, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature, and then put that on the battlefield. So this is kind of like a Chaos Warp, but specifically going to look for creatures. In a 4-player game, it's going to cost, you know, 3 less. So it's only going to cost 3 in a red, to essentially Chaos Warp 2 creatures of my own, get 2 out, and then with Miirym on the board, boom, I get to get a huge amount of stuff out. This card is really janky, but really, really fun in this deck. It's also got Cavern of Souls that I pulled at some point, and I think it's got a Triome potentially that I pulled as well. No, does not have the Triome. For some reason, I thought I had the Triome in here. No, there, Ketria Triome. That I can't remember if I pulled, I think I pulled this as like a bonus the list card or something bonkers like that. Either way, you know, that's essentially is a very, very similar Miirym deck to most, but it's got a couple of my own kind of janky cards in it that I thought would be really fun. All right, next up we've got Pantlaza, which is Dinosaur Tribal. I'm not running like flickery bullshit. My brother decided to try and make a Pantlaza deck yesterday, and we immediately called him out because what the hell, man? Why do you got to break this? But mine is just play big stompy, throw big stompy at your face. That's it. It does have some really nice cards in it, like the Dino DNA that I pulled here. Monster Manual as well allows me to cheat out a whole big dinosaur. Skullspore Nexus I traded for to be able to have more dinos out, and when my dinos die, create a huge dino there. It's just dinosaurs all the way down. Yeah, there's not really much to kind of talk about it. It's just getting big dinosaurs out and then cascading into more dinosaurs. Some of the really nice stuff I've got in here, though, is like the Descendants Path. I really like this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card. If it shares a creature type with a creature I have, I can play it without paying its mana cost. So if I reveal one of these big dinos here and I had, any dinosaur out at the time, I can just play it for free. Really, really fun. I've also upgraded to add in some more protection. So I've got both Heroic Intervention, Deflecting Swat, and Flawless Maneuver in here, as well as the Akroma's Will that came in the precon. The mana base as well has been upgraded a fair bit because I've just kind of pulled some nice stuff. So where is it? I've got like the Windswept Heath in here and stuff along those lines. Just some Reflecting Pools really good in here too. Just some nice kind of mana stuff. No Triome or anything though. And then the Sorceress is just big dinos. This is just play big dinos, throw big dinos. It requires no skill. It's just get big dinos out. However, there is a kind of secret card in here, which is the Progenitus Icon. I actually think this might come in the precon, so it's not a huge secret, but it is essentially allowing me to be able to play cards, play dinosaurs as though they had flash, which means I can flash out a dino on other people's turn. And because Pantlaza is essentially only like each turn, not each play, like each of my turns, I can technically use this to be able to cascade into other things. Next, we've got Voja. This is a kind of budget deck, or at least it started as a budget deck. It's got a few upgrades since then, but essentially this is around just playing a lot of elves, but I've also got a lot of wolves in my Voja, which I know is not as ideal. Replacing some of these wolves with better elves would probably make a lot of sense, but I wanted to mix it up and have some wolves in here too. This is mostly just play a lot of elves and then have more elves and then have wolves as well, but then some stuff to manipulate. Having the +1/+1s like Shelleye and Hela here are great for +1 creatures, especially because of the fact that they are an elf as well. Like they have elf as the tag, which is really good. Now the enchantments are around hasting and stuff. Annie's joins up. I need like 100 copies of this because I just keep making more and more Naya decks. And honestly, like Naya is just amazing. I love Naya. There's a couple different protection things in here, not as much as I probably should have. Like I should have like Heroic Intervention and stuff. And I kind of built this deck as I wanted to make a really good and fun Voja deck, but I didn't want it to be too broken, because if my Voja deck became too strong, then I wouldn't be able to play it much, because my friend would just be like, or my brother will just be like, okay, well, I'm going to whip out my freaking strongest deck I've got, and then Voja just kind of sits there doing nothing. It's just, again, this is just big, stompy, throw things, put +1/+1s on everything. However, for a kind of slight change on what I've got, this is in my Amalia deck, which is one of my favorite decks as well. Like these are obviously all my favorite decks, but the Amalia one is like a one that's very different to my other decks. It is a life gain deck, but it's built around gaining a lot of little life, as well as kind of some aristocratic stuff with sacking stuff, and then just having overall kind of proc and proc. So because of the way Amalia works, it's every time you gain life. So if I'm gaining like 1 life, but I'm gaining it like 3 times in a row, then it's going to have 3 procs on her. So that will get Amalia big really quickly. I've also got a lot of recursion stuff in here to be able to bring things back. So like pre-war formal wear, I've got that in here to be able to bring something back. I've got like Lurus in here. I've got some other resurrection stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head. like Vein Witch Coven in here. Whenever I gain life, pay black, and then I can return a target creature card from my graveyard to my hand. That's perfect for this deck. So it is mostly Vampire Tribal, but not all Vampire Tribal. It's got some other like non-vampires in here, like, you know, a Brass Dragon that's in here just to completely surprise someone. Celestine's in here as well, you know, like some non kind of vampire stuff in here too. The Creeping Bloodsucker that I drew the other day is really great in here because it deals 1 damage to each person, and then I gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. And then once you get down to like the enchantments and and the instants and sorceries, that's where you have more of the kind of resurrection-y stuff, especially in the sorceries, kind of bringing stuff back to the battle board, back to the board. The reason that I've kind of gone this way with Amalia is not a lot of people realize or kind of think about the fact that with Explore, it's essentially Surveil, right? You look at the top card. If it's a land, it goes into your hand. If it's not a land, then you put a +1/+1 onto Amalia, and then you can either put it into your graveyard or back on top. So if I put it into my graveyard, I can slowly kind of fill up my graveyard, and then from there, I can use like, you know, Descent into Avernus or any of the kind of other 100 different spells I've got here to bring things back to the battlefield, and just kind of resurrect a whole bunch of stuff. And, you know, even with like the being able to sack things, especially because I could sack things at like instant speed. I can, if there's a board wipe, I could sack everything, put it all into my graveyard, buff up like Amalia or whoever else and stuff, and then, be able to bring everything back. Like it stops people being able to exile my stuff because I can just sack it at instant speed as well. Lots of great kind of uses for that. All right, now my 5th one here, again, they're not in any particular order, like all 5 of these are my favorite decks, I think, is Yuma. Yuma is obviously an upgraded version of the precon. So if you look at the actual ones that I've got here, like the Pantlaza ones, I think the only one that's built off of a precon, actually no, this one here, the Amalia one was partially built off of the Vampire precon that's got a lot of changes in it. But this one here is probably the closest still to the precon that it was. And this is very much around like my lands and sacking a whole bunch of deserts and stuff. It's got a lot of upgrades as well, just from various different things I've pulled and stuff, as well as upgrades that I brought. But Aftermath Analyst in here is a huge win con. This is insane. I can bring back so many lands with it. It's bonkers, especially when you combine it with, like, say, Hazazon or something like that. So this is self-mill, mostly self-milling myself, mill through, get heaps of deserts and stuff into my graveyard, and then using Yuma to then create a whole bunch of tokens from it, and then using huge things like Aftermath Analyst or any of the other cards that bring lands back from my graveyard back onto the battlefield. And then, you know, like, we've got a whole lot of kind of landfall stuff in here, whether it's Bristly Bill or Scoot Swarm or what's the other one? The one I'm thinking of, Felidar Retreat as well, is huge in here. The new Desert Warfare is really, really great in this because of the fact that it's obviously built around deserts and stuff. I actually do need to add more deserts in, I think, into this deck. We've also got Annie's Joins Up here, as obviously. And then we've got like Ojatark as well to like make a whole bunch of tokens. There is a lot of different tokeny stuff in here, whether it's the commander or whether it's Hazazon or whether it's, you know, Ojatark, like tripling those, Titania, making tokens, Scoot Swarm, lots of really great kind of token stuff. It is a pain to play actual physically because of the fact that I'm going to create so many tokens, and then those tokens will get +1/+1. So you got to track each token separately rather than just have like, here is all of these together and stuff. Which is a pain, but it is a very, very fun deck to play. Overgrowth Recon is a crazy fun card as well. I really love that. The win con in this deck as well, or one of the win cons in this deck, is Nihiri's Lithoforming. This is a, like, I used this, and sacked, like, you know, 10 lands or something, drew 10 cards. Those lands that I sacked were deserts, so I'm creating a whole bunch of plants from it and then putting a whole bunch of lands out. It is a crazy card. I love it. I love it so much. World Soul's Rage as well, because of the fact that we're going to be putting a whole bunch of lands into our graveyard. That is a win con as well. Like, it's just a very fun deck because of the dumb win cons that are built into it. Like, no one expects Aftermath Analyst to necessarily be a win con, but when I played it at Friday Night Magic, the most recent week, I had milled myself a whole bunch. I had Aftermath Analyst out, I had Felidar Retreat out, I was about to sack this for 4, return 7 lands to the battlefield, about to put 7+1/+1s on all of my creatures and stuff. There was nothing anyone could do about that until they attack someone else, and then I lost because it put all the damage from that onto everyone, which was not fun, but well, it was fun, but it wasn't fun that I won, didn't win. But, you know, this is a very fun kind of deck built around, you know, landfall and stuff, which is very different to a lot of my other decks, but it's still the same because, like, you know, if we really want to boil it down, as my friend John Jackson will point out down here, a lot of my decks are big, stompy, throw them at your face. Miirym's that, Pantlaza's that, Voja's that, and Yuma's that. The only one that's not that is Amalia. Now, I wanted to kind of do a bonus one just because this is becoming one of my favorites. It's not up in the top 5 yet, but Miss Bumbleflower, I've been going through and upgrading her a lot. She is very different to all my other decks because of the fact that she's more of like a combo, so she's got like group hug and like handing out a whole bunch of cards to everyone and protecting myself until I like reach a win con and stuff, and winning through something that's not combat. In my most recent time that I went to my LGS, obviously, you know, I played Yuma, but then I played Miss Bumbleflower, and I actually won with her because of like Approach to the Second Sun. I combined Approach to the Second Sun with some card draw stuff, and then this Perch Protection card here to enable me to be able to get to my next turn and be able to draw additional cards and stuff. It was actually really fun. I actually really loved playing this deck, so very quickly could become one of my favorites, and I'm looking forward to kind of playing it more. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your favorite decks? What do you guys think of these decks? As I said, I'll put the links down to them in the description in the comments. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and again, head over onto my Discord and you'll be able to, like, you know, check out these decks and all of my other decks. I have, you know, like, if you want to check out one of them, I'm thinking, like, would you guys love for me to go more in depth into each of these decks as well? Is there one particular one you want me to cover and stuff? Like, I can zoom in here so you can kind of see them as I scroll past. Someone said before about the Emperor one, this one here, the Marnius tokens. But, you know, I've got a lot of decks covering a lot of different areas. I hope you guys had a great day, and goodbye.